You might have seen last year that my plan last year was to do a spider army for my gits. I got tempted by the lure of Slanesh and went that way. But if you go right back to the beginning of last year, that was my intention. And I got one of these last year, and it was the intention to make it into what is called a Skitterstrand spider, all right? I'm thinking I'm pretty much not going to need anything that's on that sprue at all this time. I just need the one sprue, which is the spider, and that is because, save you having to look back, is there a photo of him? See, you can have the Arachnarock spider with a war party on top. You can have it with a shaman and his little temple on top. You can have him with the flinger, which I've already got. Is there? I don't think there's a photo for that. Oh, hang on one second. Oh, no. A Skitterstrand. No. No, I don't think there's any illustration for him at all. These are all the different options. Is a basic lone spider. It's a teleporting spider. It's really nifty because you have him in reserve, and at the end of your movement phase, you can put him anywhere on the board as long as it's more than 9 inches away from an enemy. And and at the end of combat, he can disappear and teleport back out. And that's a really nifty device. So I want to make another one of them, because I'm going to carry on with this spider army, and yeah, I like the idea of a teleporting spider that's just a whacking great big spider appears in your midst. Okay, so I'm only going to need that sprue. What I'm umming and ahhing about is what I'm going to do with it, because I'm not going to make this straight out of the box in a regular pose, and I will come back with my other spiders to explain why. All right, that's the main body done. And with the main body done, I now have to decide what I'm going to do with the beastie regarding posing. So I've got two already. This is our son's one from years and years and years back. It's had a bit of a tweak paint job wise recently, but as you can see, still on a rectangle base, and it's the flinger version, as I say. And this version of the spider is all feet, well, not all feet because he's missing 1 foot, on the ground, flat on, like that, all right? So that's number one. And as I say, I'm keen. I don't like it when all models in an army are exactly the same pose. I just find it dreadfully dull and a bit odd looking. So there he is on his old rectangle base. So that makes him distinctive already, okay? And he's flat on the ground. When I did my Skitterstrand last year, I thought it would be an idea to show off all the lovely soft bits underneath, and to show off, you know, the little baby spiders that are coming out. And if you've seen my video on how I did this was to scrunch up some kitchen foil, and that's actually kitchen foil, put them down first, and then worked from the back legs forward. And I've deliberately had him almost coming off the base like this, you see, advancing forwards to just get a bit more, something a bit more different for him. All right, so that's one, and that's t'other. So what do I do next? One option I could do is actually build it with the little bit of terrain that comes with it. There is a bit of terrain that goes at the back, which does raise the body up a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to. That's why I made those rocks. And I guess originally when I built this, I was going to do it because I've come across in my bits box the two halves of the terrain. Okay, just here. So that's already been done for me. So I could do it. I could just have a Skitterstrand, you know, with this at the back. But what I like about the Skitterstrand is that they can appear out of nowhere. This obviously is part of, you know, Spider Git's territory to have goblins all tied up like that and have all the spiders everywhere. This fella can just pop up anywhere it likes. So I'm thinking instead, no, I'm going to repose him. All right. And one idea was to, instead of having, I mean, that Skitterstrand is basically like this. That one there is sort of like this. So I've got this and I've got this. How about doing this and have him kind of like rearing up? Because then you get to see his lovely little mouth in there, you know. But then I wouldn't see the eyes. So I don't know. Maybe like a sideways, some legs down, some up, like he's reeling and sort of like doing that. I don't know. I'm going to cut the legs up, tidy all these bits up. As you can see, I've still got to sand down the cut-off points, fill in some gaps, cut all the legs off, and I'll come back with a pose. Well, him in the pose, not me. Well, I've decided on the rearing up pose, and this isn't exactly the most sophisticated way of doing things, but what I've basically done is I've propped him up with a paint pot to the height that I want him to be. And then what I've done is, or I'm doing, is I'm sticking the legs on from the back forwards. All right, this one here and the one on the other side, these are completely reposed. These ones here, it's a swivel thing. You can put them in any pose. These ones have a fixed slot where it goes into a little hole. I've had to cut that off, and also they had like skulls at the bottom, just so there's a bit more contact with the ground. I've snipped them off, and I've angled these down. All right, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. And as you can see, on at least on this arm, or leg, sorry, I'm ready for the last bit, which is that bit. And yeah, these are like a swivel joint. So at the moment, I'm in and ahhing whether he's like rearing forward with claws right out, or bring them on in like that. I'll make a decision and I'll come back once he's all assembled. So there he is, all done, reposed in his snarling, reaching up pose. And just like I did with the other two, it's the fleshy bits next. So I want all my spiders to be distinctive, distinctly different colour schemes. And so yeah, for this one, I put on a regular flesh shade, and I've just washed it with the plate bearer contrast paint, and just done a little bit of highlighting, and also all those little blobs that you see there, I've just washed them in the Reichland flesh tone to just warm them up a bit. I'm going to put gloss varnish on them, and right now I'm just picking out the spiders in red that are inhabiting the little crevices. So getting there. The other thing that I decided to do is this is going to be a spider army, but I'm going to supplement it with this chap, who's our son's old giant. He's now called an ale guzzler, isn't he? Back in the day, this was quite a large kit. It's now titchy compared to the gargants that you can now get. So this was our son's. This is his paint job. It was his idea to have the red chest and red belly with a black spot. And I'm repainting bits at the moment. And what I thought I'd do is, because this is going to be a backup for the spiders, I'm going to repaint his clothing in the red and blue to kind of like infer Spider-Man. I'm giving him Spider-Man colours. All right, I'm going to keep the orange dragon scales there and there. And when I'm done with him, I'm going to have spiders crawling all over him. All right, so as you can see, I'm just busy repainting bits of him. Oh, and the other thing is, in the bits box, this is left over from our son's old army, and I'm actually going to stick that on his shoulders, so it's almost like a spider banner that he's got. So I started applying the reds and realised the flesh tones just weren't doing it for me. The greenish skin tone just wasn't meshing nicely with the red. So what I've done here is I've put on a wash of Carisbrooke Crimson, which has taken the greenness away but turned it more into like a dark browny flesh, which is still not what I want. So what I'm going to do, because I have it in mind that he's going to be red with darker areas, is that actually I'm going to make the skin dark. I'm going to try. Let's see what happens. I'm going to put on a black contrast paint over it and have him have black skin. Still wasn't feeling it with the fleshy bits, so I've dulled down the then reddy flesh, dulled it down even more with a black contrast paint to darken it right down, and I'm happier now with that. Talking about darkening down, this colour is Mephiston red, and the top of the head here and the back and half of that, it looks horrible at the moment, but it won't be like that forever. And the inside couple of segments of each leg I've darkened down with Drucci Violet, and the reason I've done that is in the Gloomspite Gets book, I like this illustration here, and I like the idea of the legs starting black and then going out and into a red. All right, sorry, I've picked a cold up the last couple of days. So what I'm doing now is, now I've done this, I'm going to start dry brushing the top and along there and blending that in. And I'm umming and ahhing what to do with the rest of the legs. I think I'm going to stain them, and I am going to go up through the reds. So it's going to be quite, this looks bright red now, but that's just the light today. It's darker than that. But yeah, I think I'm going to go up through the reds on the legs. So the end of the legs are going to be the brightest part of this chap. Well, I think I'm there with the reds. I think if I go any brighter, I'm going to regret it. So I'm going to stop for now and then just see what it looks like when done with the rest of it. The rest of it, the horns I've blocked in a warm flesh. I've got to do something a bit different to what I did with the Flinger version of this spider, because it had fleshy, bony coloured horns. So I need to look at what I did there, do something different. And yeah, then the eyes I've just blocked out in white, ready for the next step. Pretty much done now. His fangs I've done, I washed with one of the contrast browns and dabbed it off with a wet cotton bud, and then put on one of the blacks and dabbed it off. Didn't wipe it off, because then you'll just get streaks. But if you tap at it like that, you get a little mottled effect and breaks it up nicely. And I wanted something a bit different. I wanted to differentiate the horns from the fangs. So this is Rattling Grime, which is an icky brown colour. And can you see that? And again, dabbing it off. There is some grain on these horns, and it naturally flowed into them, but then I would dab off because I wanted them to all look horrible. And I think they have. So he's nearly done. Basically, I've just got to do the eyes, touch up a bit of the reds, gloss the eyes, gloss the fangs, and he's going to be done. I'm quite pleased with this. I was a bit apprehensive because I'd gone for like a bone colour for the horns on my original one. But if you look at my original one, and this is he, I'd gone for more of a yellowy tint, so I'm not that bothered by that. All right. And the other thing I've done, because of the pose I've got him in, how do you get under him to paint the base? So what I did was I plopped him down on the base and drew round the contact points where his 8 legs touch the ground. Drew round that and then spread my PVA glue all around the base except for those circles. And as you can see, I'm in the process of putting washes on it, and I'm going to be dry brushing it with Zandri dust. Then glue him onto the base, and then I've got to just reach in, fill in the gaps around his little legs with more PVA, and then paint that to blend everything. So pretty much done. I'll come back with him finished. There we go, all done. Quite pleased with this reposing, showing off the mouth. So I've got one showing off the mouth, one showing off the backside, one standard. That's the one that's got the howler on the back. I'm going to do one more Skitterstrand. I know the colour scheme I'm going to be doing. That'll be standard as well, but no howler, so should be slightly different. Oh, and before I go, sorry about the slamming door there. Finished off my converted giant into an ally of the spiders. Right, so yeah, nice projects then, and before long I'll be back with my final one.